We gonna get crazy.
All right, back in the basement again today, and as you can see, I've pulled out my leg extension leg curl, which is plate loaded. This one is from Williams Strength. We also make the Signature Series line for Elite FTS. I really like this thing. However, one of the negatives about this type of design, as many of you know, is with the plate loaded aspect of it, you tend to lose some of the resistance at the top of the movement. And one of the reasons why this particular model is really desirable is it has band pegs attached to it, so you can attach a band to make sure you're getting that resistance all the way through. However, I thought I might be able to rig up something a little bit extra. Now, as you can probably tell from the title, I'm going to be integrating my Voltra into this setup, and I was really inspired by watching a lot of videos that I've seen from Home Gym Con with a lot of the equipment manufacturers taking into account Voltra mounts for machines, as well as just following people like Dr. Taddy Waffles and Darko and other people out there who own Voltras who've got super creative with the way that they use them. Now, I've owned my Voltras for quite a while. I haven't done a dedicated video on them, although I have done several shorts that show you some of the unique things that they can offer, and this is just going to be another one of those. So as I mentioned already, the bands on this thing definitely help. However, one thing with bands and the elastics is that it gets chewed up over time from stretching out and rolling, as well as the fact that with band resistance, it's not always super consistent. So most of the people that I pull inspiration from for these kind of gym builds have a lot of skills that I do not have, nor do I have the time, effort, or patience to do that. However, what I recalled is I had this particular mount laying around, which is the pull-up bar mount, so it can adapt to a lot of things to attach. And I have never really used this in my own gym because I don't really have a dedicated pull-up bar and I have other ways to mount the Voltra. Now, for most general people speaking, this thing would be mounted on a pull-up bar through there. There's screws that kind of detach and you can make it adapt to different diameter bars. This would then be pointed down and you could then use this as a dedicated lat pull-down setup because this could be mounted in the middle of a pull-up bar versus on a rack, which might have the uprights in the way. So I think this is a perfect thing that could be used because, again, this machine has band pegs. So here we have the band pegs as mentioned, and this has plenty of space, so we're just gonna get rid of this band. And through the magic of editing, I'm gonna take off these 4 screws and mount this right on the band peg. And there you go. So it is mounted here, and I can adjust it just a little bit to get it more in line with the other band pegs. Now all we have to do is mount the Voltra. It's gonna lock in place. Now, you could obviously mount this the other way if you wanted the handle up. However, in this application, since we're so close to the ground, I want as easy as access as possible to this particular LCD screen. All right, so the Voltra is mounted. We do have a carabiner attachment here. In most cases, for normal uses of the Voltra, you would attach a handle or something like that to this. Because for this application, we're actually looking for it to attach to another band peg, what I've got here is an ankle cuff from Rep Fitness. So this will just slide right on the carabiner. And the nice thing about the Voltra is, again, you can go in here under the settings, and actually I'm gonna pick weight training. I'm then gonna pick the actual cable, and you can pull the starting cable length out with a little bit of resistance. I'm gonna go over to that band peg and pull it under. And it's gonna say, okay, it now has a starting point of 68 centimeters out. I can now go back and actually start my weight training and start to load this thing up with weights. Now, obviously, just this setup alone is gonna be pretty sweet because you can, in theory, load this anywhere up to 200 pounds, right? So having a 200-pound stack now, basically in a selectorized unit, which used to be plate loaded, is pretty cool, although I don't think I'll be doing anything with 200 pounds on this particular thing today. But one of the things that I really like, which I've done shorts about, is you can then go ahead and add different modes, whether it be chains, bands, eccentric mode, which I think this is really cool. What this will allow you to do is basically overload the negative. So I like this a lot in my accessory work to kind of help me control the weight more on the way down and get a lot of work done in a short amount of time. So there you go, a pretty simple yet really effective and sweet setup using the Voltra, turning a plate-loaded machine into a selectorized unit and just adding further to the value prop where it could replace, in some cases, dedicated weight stack machines. Now, I've only scratched the surface of showing you some of the stuff in this video. In some of my other shorts, I've shown you other things you can integrate. Obviously, I showed you the eccentric mode here, but you can also program in drop sets. So if you're really trying to overload your quads in this particular movement, you could have it so that every 5 reps or however many reps you choose, The weight would then drop in certain increments to your choosing. So that's a really nice feature as well. There's also built-in assistance. So if you're really trying to do a burnout or to fail your set and you're struggling, the Voltra will slightly lessen the load to allow you to complete the rep, and it'll give you that added security as you go. So tons of sweet things you can do. I'll show you more as I can. If you haven't seen my shorts, check some of those out. Check out some of the reviews from like Gluck and Coop and some of the other creators out there who are doing some really unique things with a really unique device, all to help kind of offset the cost of the $2,000 price tag, which many people fear on this, which I get it. But again, this is doing things that you can't do with anything else on the market. Let me know what questions you have down below. In the meantime, as always, thanks for watching and stay big. Woo!